The news of the young girl's murder spread like wildfire across the colonies and back to Earth. Outraged citizens flooded the communication channels, demanding action from their leaders. The United Nations convened an emergency session, the tension in the Grand Assembly Hall palpable. The Secretary General rose, his face grave. Members of the United Nations, we have been presented with a most heinous act. A defenseless child, an innocent life, has been callously taken by the Galactic Empire. He paused, letting the weight of his words sink in. This cannot be tolerated. The Galactic Empire has shown the depths of their disregard for human life. We must respond, and we must respond swiftly. He turned to face the delegates, his gaze unwavering. I propose we issue an ultimatum to the Empire. Surrender the perpetrators of this crime, or face the full force of the United Nations. A murmur of agreement rippled through the hall, quickly growing into a chorus of impassioned voices. The Russian delegate stepped forward, his features contorted with fury. Yes, an ultimatum. But we must go further. The Empire has crossed a line. We cannot simply ask them to hand over a few soldiers. No, we must demand they pay for this outrage with their very existence. The American delegate raised a hand, silencing the room. While I share your outrage, comrade, we must be careful not to escalate the situation beyond our control. The Galactic Empire is a formidable foe, and we cannot afford to underestimate their power. She paused, her gaze sweeping across the assembled leaders. However, I agree that the time for diplomacy has passed. We must show the Empire that there are consequences for their actions. I motion that we mobilize the full might of the United Nations armed forces and prepare to deliver a decisive blow against the Galactic Empire. The delegates erupted into a thunderous applause, the air thick with a sense of purpose and determination. The Secretary General raised his hands, silencing the room once more. Then it is settled. We will issue an ultimatum to the Galactic Empire. Surrender the perpetrators of this heinous act, or face the full wrath of the United Nations. He turned to the communications officer, nodding. Broadcast the ultimatum to the Galactic Empire immediately. Give them 72 hours to respond. As the message was relayed across the galaxy, the UN delegates set to work, mobilizing their respective militaries for what would surely be a monumental conflict. Factory lines were converted, resources pooled, and soldiers readied for the impending clash. In the galactic capital, the Emperor's advisors delivered the ultimatum with trepidation. The old ruler listened in silence, his weathered face betraying no emotion. When they had finished, he let out a dry chuckle. The humans dare to issue demands to the Galactic Empire. He scoffed. They are like children, playing at war. Do they truly believe they can stand against our might? He waved a dismissive hand. Inform the humans that their request has been denied. They have 72 hours to surrender or face the consequences. The advisors exchanged nervous glances, sensing the folly of their master's arrogance, but they dared not voice their concerns. The Emperor's word was law, and he had spoken. Back on Earth, the Secretary General received the Galactic Empire's defiant response with a grim expression. He turned to the delegates, his voice heavy with resolve. The Galactic Empire has rejected our ultimatum. They have 72 hours to surrender the perpetrators, or we will be forced to take action. A hush fell over the assembly hall, the weight of the impending conflict palpable. Then, one by one, the delegates rose to their feet, their faces alight with determination. Then so be it, the Russian delegate declared, his fist pounding the table. We will show the Galactic Empire the true power of humanity. The other delegates echoed his sentiment, their voices rising in a chorus of defiance. The Secretary General allowed himself a small, satisfied smile. The humans had been pushed too far, and now the Galactic Empire would soon feel the full fury of a wronged and outraged civilization. The bustling streets of New Horizon Colony were alive with the laughter of children playing in the afternoon sun. Among them was 8-year-old Emily, a bright-eyed girl with a mop of curly brown hair. She giggled as she chased after her friends, weaving between the legs of passers-by. Nearby, her mother Hannah watched with a warm smile, grateful for this peaceful moment. Life on the colony had been good to them. Ever since they had moved from overcrowded and polluted Earth, Hannah had found a sense of freedom and belonging she had never experienced before. Suddenly, a thunderous sound echoed across the sky, making Hannah's heart skip a beat. She looked up to see a massive warship of the Galactic Empire descending towards the colony spaceport. Hannah's breath caught in her throat. The Empire's vessels were a rare sight, and their presence always filled the colonists with unease. The hulking ship landed, and a squad of armored Imperial troopers emerged, their footsteps thundering on the pavement. Panicked cries rose from the crowd as the soldiers began shoving civilians aside, marching with purpose through the streets. Hannah clutched Emily close, praying they would not be noticed. Unfortunately, Emily's carefree laughter had drawn the attention of the lead trooper. He turned towards the girl, his expressionless faceplate concealing any trace of humanity. Without a moment's hesitation, he raised his blaster and fired. Hannah's world shattered as she watched the searing bolt of energy strike Emily square in the chest. Her little girl crumpled to the ground, lifeless. Overcome with grief and rage, Hannah let out an anguished scream that pierced the air. The Imperial trooper lowered his weapon, unmoved by the tragedy he had just inflicted. The child was causing a disturbance, he said flatly to his squad. We cannot allow such insolence to go unchecked. The other troopers nodded in agreement, as if the cold-blooded murder of an innocent child was simply a matter of protocol. They continued their march, leaving the devastated Hannah cradling Emily's body, her tears falling like rain. News of the atrocity spread quickly through the colony, igniting a firestorm of outrage. Outraged citizens flooded the communications hub, frantically relaying the horrific details to their contacts on Earth. Within hours, the tragedy had reached the highest levels of the United Nations. In the Grand Assembly Hall of the UN headquarters in New York, the delegates sat in stunned silence as the grisly report was delivered. For several long moments, no one dared to speak, the weight of the child's senseless death hanging heavy in the air. Finally, the representative from Russia rose to his feet, his face flushed with fury. This is an outrage, he thundered, slamming his fist on the table. The Galactic Empire has shown us their true colors. They are nothing but cold-blooded murderers. One by one, the other delegates echoed his sentiments, their outrage building into a crescendo of righteous anger. The American delegate, her eyes glistening with unchecked tears, declared, "We cannot allow this to stand. The death of that innocent child demands justice." The UN Secretary-General raised a hand, calling for silence. "Then justice we shall have," he said solemnly. "I will issue an ultimatum to the Galactic Empire. They will surrender the perpetrators of this heinous act, or face the full fury of the United Nations." As the delegates erupted into a chorus of agreement, Hannah sat alone in her home, clutching Emily's favorite toy, a small plush bear. Her heart was shattered, but deep within, a seed of determination began to take root. If the Galactic Empire thought they could commit such atrocities without consequence, they were sorely mistaken. The humans would not rest until they had exacted their revenge. As the decades passed, the Galactic Alliance continued to thrive, its power and influence steadily growing to encompass more and more of the galaxy. The once fractured worlds that had once been under the Galactic Empire's oppressive rule now found themselves united under a banner of peace, prosperity, and cooperation. General Ripley, now a revered elder statesman, oversaw the continued integration of the former imperial territories into the Galactic Alliance. Working alongside the UN representatives and the local colonial governors, she helped to establish a framework of governance that balanced the needs and interests of all member worlds. "We are no longer simply a human-led union," Ripley declared in a speech before the Galactic Alliance's Governing Council. "This is a true alliance of civilizations, each bringing their unique strengths and perspectives to the table." Indeed, the Galactic Alliance had become a melting pot of cultures and ideas, with representatives from countless alien races working alongside their human counterparts to shape the future of the galaxy. Trade, scientific collaboration, and cultural exchange flourished, breaking down the barriers that had once divided the various galactic powers. On the former imperial capital of Coruscant, now the gleaming heart of the Galactic Alliance, a sense of optimism and renewal pervaded the air. The grand memorial to the young child whose death had sparked this epic transformation had become a site of pilgrimage, a reminder to all who visited of the sacrifices and triumphs that had led to this new era of peace. Hannah, the child's mother, now an elderly woman, would often visit the memorial, her eyes filled with a bittersweet mix of grief and pride. She would be amazed to see how far we've come. She would murmur to the visitors who paused to pay their respects. Her sacrifice has truly changed the galaxy forever. Across the Galactic Alliance, similar memorials and cultural monuments were erected, each one serving as a testament to the human spirit and the enduring legacy of the child whose tragic death had been the catalyst for this profound transformation. As the years continued to pass, the Galactic Alliance's influence and prosperity only grew. Its member worlds became beacons of technological innovation, scientific breakthroughs, and cultural exchange. The once distant human civilization had become a central pillar of this new galactic order, its citizens embracing their role as leaders and stewards of a more just and equitable society. But even as the Galactic Alliance flourished, the specter of the Galactic Empire's remnants continued to linger. Pockets of loyalist forces, unwilling to accept the new reality, carried out sporadic acts of violence and sabotage, testing the resolve of the Galactic Alliance's military and security forces. Yet, under Ripley's steady guidance, the Galactic Alliance weathered these challenges, responding with a measured hand and a commitment to the principles of diplomacy and reconciliation. Slowly but surely, the last vestiges of the Galactic Empire's legacy were erased, replaced by a shared vision of a future where all civilizations could coexist in peace and harmony. As the Galactic Alliance's centennial celebration approached, the citizens of the human colonies and the former imperial worlds gathered to commemorate the remarkable journey they had undertaken. The once bitter rivals had become allies, the once oppressed now stood as equals, and the galaxy had been forever transformed by the indomitable spirit of humanity. In the Grand Assembly Hall on Coruscant, the Galactic Alliance's governing council spoke in unison, their voices carrying the weight of a century's worth of struggle and triumph. We stand here today, not as conquerors, but as partners. The Galactic Empire is no more, and in its place, a new era of peace and prosperity has dawned. Let this be a testament to the power of unity, the strength of the human spirit, and the promise of a future where all civilizations can thrive, side by side. As the assembled crowd erupted into thunderous applause, Hannah, now a revered elder, smiled through her tears. Her child's memory lived on, a beacon of hope that had guided humanity to this extraordinary moment. The galaxy had been forever changed, and the future, once so uncertain, now glowed with the boundless potential of a new era. The 72-hour ultimatum given to the Galactic Empire ticked away as the nations of Earth hurried to prepare for the looming conflict. Gone were the days of petty rivalries and political squabbles. In the face of this existential threat, humanity stood united, driven by a singular purpose. Factory floors across the globe were converted to military production, assembly lines churning out the raw materials of war. Stockpiles of advanced weaponry and munitions were hastily amassed, the combined resources of Earth's nations flowing into this desperate endeavor. In the halls of power, seasoned military commanders were summoned, their expertise called upon to devise the strategy that would lead humanity to victory. Grizzled war veterans, who had once fought in bitter conflicts against their own kind, now found themselves united under a common banner: the defense of their species against an implacable alien foe. General Alice Ripley, a decorated officer with decades of experience, stood before the assembled leaders, her gaze unwavering. Gentlemen, the time has come to show the Galactic Empire the true might of humanity. We have 72 hours to build a force capable of taking the fight to their doorstep. She turned to the digital displays, her fingers flying across the controls. Vast schematics of advanced warships and cutting-edge weaponry appeared, their specifications meticulously detailed. Our scientists and engineers have been working around the clock to develop these new technologies. With the full backing of the United Nations, we will construct a fleet unlike anything the galaxy has ever seen. The delegates leaned forward, their eyes widening as they took in the sheer scale of the proposed armada. General Ripley allowed herself a grim smile. 700,000 battleships, each equipped with the latest in energy weapons, kinetic bombardment, and hyperspace drives. This fleet will be the tip of the spear that will drive deep into the heart of the Galactic Empire. As the delegates erupted into a chorus of astonished murmurs, the general raised a hand, silencing them. But that is not all. We have also developed a new generation of fighter craft, equipped with advanced sensor suites and directed energy armaments. These will be the eyes and teeth of our invasion force. She paused, her gaze sweeping across the room. Gentlemen, we will not only match the Galactic Empire's might, we will surpass it. When we are done, the very foundations of their empire will tremble at the sight of our fleet. The delegates exchanged determined nods, the fire of righteous vengeance burning in their eyes. The Secretary General stepped forward, his expression grave. Then let it be so. We have 72 hours to marshal the full might of humanity. General Ripley, you and your staff will oversee the construction and deployment of this fleet. Spare no expense, and leave no stone unturned. We will show the Galactic Empire the true power of our species. With that, the delegates dispersed, each returning to their respective nations to mobilize their resources and manpower. Across the globe, factories roared to life, their output dedicated to the construction of this unprecedented armada. Skilled technicians and engineers worked around the clock, fueled by a sense of urgency and a burning desire for justice. In the colonies, the news of Earth's preparations spread like wildfire, igniting a surge of patriotism and resolve. Ordinary citizens volunteered in droves, eager to contribute to the war effort in any way they could. Shipyards hummed with activity as the first wave of battleships took shape, their sleek hulls gleaming in the light. As the 72-hour ultimatum drew to a close, the Galactic Empire received word of the humans' frantic preparations. The Emperor's advisors gathered, their faces etched with concern. My lord, the reports indicate the humans are constructing a fleet of unprecedented size and capability. One of them said, his voice trembling. If the accounts are accurate, their armada will outnumber our own forces by a factor of 10 or more. The old emperor let out a dismissive scoff. Impossible. The humans are a fractious, disorganized rabble. They may have the courage to issue an ultimatum, but they lack the will and the means to follow through. He waved a gnarled hand. Inform the fleet to stand ready, but do not engage the humans yet. Let them come to us, and we shall show them the true price of defying the Galactic Empire. The advisors exchanged uneasy glances, but they dared not challenge their ruler's judgment. The stage was set for a confrontation that would shake the very foundations of the galaxy. The human fleet, its ranks swelled by the shattered remnants of the Galactic Empire's once mighty armada, surged ever deeper into the heart of the imperial domain. Planets fell one by one, their once loyal populations rising up to join the human cause as the promise of freedom from the Empire's oppressive rule spread like wildfire. General Ripley stood on the bridge of the flagship, her eyes fixed on the tactical display as her fleet navigated the perilous journey. They were close now, close to the seat of the Galactic Empire's power, the capital world of Coruscant. Prepare the fleet for the final assault, she commanded, her voice betraying a hint of trepidation. We must be ready to face whatever defenses the Empire has mustered to protect their capital. The crew sprang into action, relaying Ripley's orders to the myriad ships that made up the human armada. Engines were tested, weapons systems charged, and shields reinforced as the fleet approached the Imperial capital. As they emerged from the last hyperspace jump, the grandeur of Coruscant came into view, a massive, glittering city planet, its towering skyscrapers and gleaming domes a testament to the Galactic Empire's technological might. But surrounding the world was a formidable defense network, bristling with heavy weapons platforms and vast fleets of warships. Ripley's jaw tightened as she surveyed the opposition. All ships, begin the assault. Focus all firepower on the planetary defense grid. We must break through their defenses and secure a foothold on the surface. The human fleet surged forward, its weapons blazing. Torrents of energy bolts and kinetic projectiles lashed out, striking the Imperial defense platforms and warships with devastating effect. But the defenders fought back with equal ferocity, their own firepower carving swaths through the human formation. For hours, the battle raged, each side refusing to yield. The skies above Coruscant were alight with the brilliant flashes of weaponry, the vacuum of space echoing with the thunderous explosions of destroyed ships. Slowly but surely, the human fleet began to gain the upper hand. Their advanced targeting systems and superior coordination allowed them to systematically dismantle the Imperial defenses, opening a path for the ground assault. All ground forces, prepare for deployment, Ripley announced, her voice tinged with grim determination. We're going in. Shuttles and dropships peeled off from the human fleet, their cargo holds filled with heavily armed soldiers and specialized combat vehicles. As they streamed towards the surface, the defenders unleashed a withering barrage of anti-aircraft fire, but the human pilots navigated the hail of projectiles with practiced ease. The first wave of ground troops landed amid the towering spires of the Imperial capital, their weapons blazing as they fought to secure a foothold. Reinforcements poured in, steadily pushing back the Imperial forces that rushed to defend their seat of power. For days, the battle raged on the streets of Coruscant, the citizens caught in the crossfire as the two sides fought for control of the city. But the human forces, driven by their righteous fury and superior numbers, slowly but surely gained the upper hand. Finally, after a grueling siege, the human troops stormed the Imperial palace, their flags unfurling over the once impregnable fortress. The Galactic Emperor, his once indomitable power shattered, surrendered unconditionally, his empire on the verge of collapse. As the news of the Imperial defeat spread through the galaxy, planets and systems that had long chafed under the Empire's oppressive rule rose up in celebration. The Galactic Empire, once a towering force to be reckoned with, was now in ruins, its territories ripe for the taking. General Ripley stood amidst the rubble of the Imperial palace, her gaze sweeping over the jubilant human troops. A small, satisfied smile tugged at the corners of her lips. The weight of their victory was heavy, but she knew that this was just the beginning. Humanity has proven its mettle, she murmured, her voice barely audible over the cheers of the crowd. Now it's time to rebuild, and to forge a new future, one free from the shackles of the Galactic Empire. With the Galactic Empire's collapse, humanity's influence in the galaxy began to expand at an unprecedented pace. Freed from the shackles of imperial oppression, the former colonies and subject worlds eagerly joined the Galactic Alliance, eager to be a part of this new era of progress and prosperity. Under the leadership of the United Nations, the human-led Galactic Alliance set about rebuilding the infrastructure and economies of the liberated systems. Factories were revived, trade routes reopened, and scientific research flourished as the best and brightest minds from across the galaxy collaborated on groundbreaking discoveries. General Ripley, now the supreme commander of the Galactic Alliance's military forces, oversaw the deployment of human colonists and administrators to the former imperial worlds. With their boundless energy and innovative spirit, the human settlers quickly transformed these once downtrodden planets into vibrant centers of activity. "We are not here as conquerors," Ripley declared in a rousing address to the newly installed colonial governors. "We are here as partners, to help guide these worlds to a brighter future. Together, we will show the galaxy the true potential of humanity." The words resonated with the colonial leaders, who eagerly embraced the opportunity to build something new from the ashes of the Galactic Empire. Vast tracts of land were claimed, cities were erected, and the human population began to swell across the expanding Galactic Alliance territories. As the years passed, the human presence in the galaxy became increasingly prominent. Diplomatic missions were dispatched to neighboring star systems, forging alliances and trade agreements that further strengthened the Galactic Alliance's position. The once isolated human civilization had become a force to be reckoned with, its influence reaching far beyond the borders of its original homeworld. This newfound prominence was not without its challenges, however. The remnants of the Galactic Empire, though shattered, still posed a threat, as pockets of loyalist forces refused to surrender. Skirmishes and occasional flare-ups of violence kept the Galactic Alliance military on high alert, but Ripley's seasoned troops proved more than capable of maintaining order and security. Meanwhile, on Earth, the citizens basked in the glow of humanity's triumph. The news of the Galactic Alliance's expansion and the human colonists' successes captivated the public imagination, inspiring a renewed sense of pride and purpose. Children grew up hearing tales of the young girl whose tragic death had sparked this galactic transformation, her memory becoming a symbol of humanity's resilience and determination. "We are no longer just the people of Earth," the UN Secretary-General proclaimed in a landmark address. "We are the custodians of a new galactic order, one built on the foundations of justice, equality, and the indomitable spirit of our species." The words resonated across the human colonies, igniting a wave of patriotism and optimism. The once insular human civilization had become a beacon of hope and progress in the galaxy, its influence and reach expanding with each passing year. As the Galactic Alliance's influence continued to grow, so too did the human footprint in the stars. New colonies were established, scientific outposts dotted the landscape, and a steady flow of trade and cultural exchange linked the far-flung human settlements to the bustling heart of the Galactic Alliance. And at the center of it all was the Earth, the cradle of humanity, now regarded with a newfound reverence by the countless alien civilizations that had once looked down upon the insignificant human species. The planet that had once been ravaged by war and environmental degradation had become a shining example of what the human spirit could achieve when united in a common cause. As the years turned to decades, the Galactic Alliance continued to thrive, its power and influence unmatched in the known galaxy. And throughout it all, the memory of the young child whose tragedy had sparked this epic journey remained a guiding light, a constant reminder of the price of inaction and the triumph of the human spirit. With the fall of the Galactic Empire's capital, the once mighty galactic superpower crumbled, its territories and holdings quickly falling into disarray. The human forces, led by the relentless General Ripley, pressed their advantage, sweeping across the former imperial worlds and securing their surrender. In the aftermath of the conflict, the United Nations of Earth convened a Grand Council to determine the fate of the conquered Galactic Empire. It was a delicate and complex negotiation, as the various human nations jockeyed for influence and control over the newly liberated systems. "We cannot simply divide the spoils and go our separate ways," the Russian delegate argued, his brow furrowed in concentration. "The Galactic Empire was a threat to all of humanity. We must ensure that its legacy does not linger, and that a new order emerges from the ashes." The American delegate nodded in agreement. "Well said, comrade. We must seize this opportunity to forge a new alliance, one that brings together the disparate worlds and civilizations under a single banner of peace and prosperity." After heated debates and tense compromises, the delegates reached a historic agreement: the Galactic Alliance. This new interstellar union would be led by the United Nations, with representatives from the former imperial worlds given a voice in the governance of the new order. General Ripley, her uniform now adorned with the insignia of the Galactic Alliance, stood before the assembled delegates, her expression solemn. "The road ahead will not be an easy one. We have dealt a devastating blow to the Galactic Empire, But its legacy of oppression and fear will not be easily eradicated. We must be vigilant, and we must work tirelessly to rebuild what has been lost. She paused, her gaze sweeping across the room. But I have faith in the resilience and ingenuity of humanity. Together, we will transform these former imperial worlds, bringing them prosperity and freedom. We will be the beacons of hope in a galaxy that has known only darkness for too long. The delegates erupted into applause, their faces alight with a renewed sense of purpose. Across the human colonies and the newly liberated worlds, the work of reconstruction began in earnest. Factories were retrofitted, resources pooled, and infrastructure rebuilt to serve the needs of the burgeoning Galactic Alliance. In the capital city of Coruscant, a grand memorial was erected to honor the young child whose tragic death had sparked this epic conflict. Visitors from all corners of the galaxy came to pay their respects, their eyes filled with a mixture of sorrow and gratitude. "She will not be forgotten," Hannah, the child's mother, said, her voice trembling with emotion. "Her sacrifice will serve as a reminder to us all that we must vigilantly protect the innocent, and that we must never back down in the face of cruelty and oppression." As the years passed, the Galactic Alliance flourished, its influence reaching far beyond the former boundaries of the Galactic Empire. Trade, cultural exchange, and scientific collaboration blossomed, ushering in a new era of peace and prosperity. Humanity, once seen as a backwater species by the Galactic Empire, now stood at the forefront of this golden age. Their unwavering determination and uncompromising response to the Empire's atrocities had earned them the respect and admiration of countless alien civilizations. And at the heart of this transformation was the legacy of the young child, whose tragic death had sparked a chain of events that would forever alter the course of the galaxy. Her memory was honored in schools, museums, and cultural events across the human worlds, a constant reminder of the power of the human spirit and the importance of standing up for what is right. As the Galactic Alliance continued to grow and thrive, the citizens of Earth looked to the stars with a renewed sense of pride and purpose. They knew that their species had proven its mettle, and that the future held endless possibilities for humanity to shape the course of the galaxy.